You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes There's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into
Greetings, teammates. I pray you are well. This is Tim Morton with Southeast Michigan FCA, and welcome to another Testimony Tuesday, where we like to provide a platform for others that are connected to our ministry to share their powerful stories of transformation. You know, every story has a hero, a villain, a victim, and a guide. And Jesus Christ was and still is to this day the greatest hero maker ever. I'm sure you would agree with me that we have enough villains and victims out there. What we need are more guides. And so I'm honored to bring on one of those guides, a hero maker in himself, that I've had a chance to develop a relationship over the last 5 years, and that is Steve Andrews of Kensington Church. Steve, welcome.
Hey, man. Good to be here.
Honored to have you on with us. And so the way that we got to know each other was very interesting. I knew about Kensington Church. And back in my days at Avondale, there was another teacher there named Todd Henderson. And he came up to me at one time. He said, I got this crazy idea. Let's take some students to Haiti and to have them experience it. He had experienced it himself. And he said, man, I just want you to come with me and chaperone these kids. And we didn't even know if they were believers or not. It didn't matter. We just wanted them to experience it. And the only way we could do that was to piggyback on a church mission trip with Kensington. So that's how I first heard about Kensington and met Justin Warrens and experienced Haiti, which in itself has totally changed my life. But
well, I'd forgotten that part.
Yes.
That was an era where Avondale High School had so many incredible teachers and leaders. Don't you think? That was a golden moment. It's incredible.
Phenomenal men that sharpened me, that helped mold me. And to this day, we're still brothers, even though God has took us on different paths. But that's how I found out about Kensington. So I heard your name at that time. But wouldn't you know that the Lord, maybe like 10 years later, I got granted this opportunity because of a brother in Christ that said, hey, I've been to Israel. I'm going to go and I'm going to go on this trip, but my wife has gotten ill and I need to stay with her, but I want you to go. And
well, here's what's funny. That was our buddy, Michael Emerson, who's one of the great human beings on the planet.
Amen.
So you're going on the trip actually was a big disappointment at first because I really wanted Michael to come. And of course, Kathy was going through rough stuff. She's obviously come out of that with flying colors, but you were such a fantastic influence among the 20 or 25 men on that trip. You were such an unbelievable blessing and picture of Christ. So that's where we became pretty good friends. Yeah.
And we what better way to get to know each other than to spend 10 days in Israel, right?
And walking with Jesus.
Oh my goodness. It was amazing. And found out we both have a passion for the game of basketball, which we continue to share.
Yeah, it's been good. For those of you listening, I've taught Tim a lot about basketball. Actually, if you've never watched the game with him, you should, because you literally see like 10 times more than you'd normally observe just watching. I mean, Tim is a savant, man, when it comes to understanding the game. So that's something we had fun. We were there when Michigan State beat Duke and Zion Williamson. Remember, we watched it at 3 a.m.
Yes.
By the Sea of Galilee.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome.
And, that was certainly a highlight amongst many others. And I still have my journal. The guys in that group, we're still brothers to this day. It's amazing what a trip like that in that type of setting will do for men. And so I was just honored to get to know you there. And I just want to thank you personally for continuing to mentor me, support what we do, make connections, all the things. I know you're praying, and it just means a lot to me just to have you there and have that presence. So,
well, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'll tell you, I am amazed at all the doors that God's opened for FCA and for you the last 5 years. It has been a golden moment to see God use you in such phenomenal ways.
I appreciate that. But I wanted to, those that follow this and are going to be, a part of our ministry, I wanted to hear a little bit about you. So first thing I want to do is I want to step aside and just give you a moment to share, how you came into a surrendered life for Jesus Christ. I know it's a fascinating story, so I want to give you that opportunity. I'm going to step aside.
Good. All right. Wow, what a cool moment, because I don't get to do it that often, where I just, share about what God's done in my life. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. My dad was a surgeon. My mom was a full-time homemaker, but disciple of Jesus. She led a bunch of Bible studies. She and another woman actually started Bible study fellowship in Memphis, the Memphis chapter, and grew it to 2,000 women every Tuesday morning. It was amazing. My mom was a great Bible teacher. And but a lot of you know that it doesn't matter who your parents are, you've got to make a personal decision to follow Jesus. And so I literally have three huge parts of my journey. The first one, I was 6 years old and absolutely terrified of the dark. And I think I'd watched too many Friday night horror movies, maybe as a kid, youngest of 5. And one night in the middle of the night, my mom came into my room, and I think she's probably tired of getting up in the middle of the night, me being up scared. And she said, Steve, Jesus Christ died on the cross so that you wouldn't need to feel afraid of the dark. That was my true introduction to Jesus. I prayed to receive Jesus into my heart that night at age 6. And amazingly, I was never afraid of the dark ever again. So that was an amazing moment. Second moment was my mom and dad took a call to be medical missionaries in Kenya when I was 12 years old. My sister and I went. Our older siblings were kind of grown and flew in the nest. And we landed in Nairobi, Kenya in September of 1968. And I bet I saw 1,000 beggars on the street with various forms of deformities and diseases. And I remember for the first time realizing that I was not born just for my own pleasure, but for something more, something God wanted to do in me. And it was that year where I really started to gather a vision for Jesus Christ doing something bigger in my life, but I didn't know what it was. But I did know I was frustrated with how the missionaries seemed to be pretty patronizing to the indigenous African people, and I felt like they weren't empowering them. This is something I felt at age 12. It's weird. And anyway, I came back to Memphis as an 8th grader and jumped back into my life. And actually, this is a basketball story. I made my 9th grade basketball team as an 8th grader. I was the only 8th grader on that team. And 3 nights before we were playing the district championship against Riverview, they were inner city team. It was really, really good. And we didn't think we had a chance. We actually lost to them in triple overtime. We hit a bucket a half second too late, lost 93-92. That's another story that Tim would love. But about 3 days before that, I was at the library, supposed to be studying, and my buddies and I thought it'd be fun to throw smoke bombs in Memphis Public Library. And we got arrested, and it was like a 5-alarm fire at the library and a senior citizens residence. We threw some smoke bombs in there, so I had my first run-in with the law. And about 2 weeks later, there was a guy named Rob Saunders that was inviting junior high kids from my school to a Bible study, which I did not want to go, but my mother made me. And that night, Rob talked for an hour about how Jesus suffered on the cross, what he went through on the cross for us. I was 13 years old. I gave my life to Jesus Christ that night, and never, ever once since then ever looked back. Maybe I doubted, maybe I questioned, but that was a radical turning point in my life. And it was later in the next couple of years where some of my friends came and went with Christ. Some of them turned against me, lost friends over that, but I never stopped wanting to follow Jesus. And then when I was 16, helping lead a Young Life Club as one of the key volunteers, driving, bringing kids, is when I felt the call to ministry. I had this sense of, man, Jesus made me to reach people. And I remember memorizing Matthew chapter 6, where Jesus says, don't lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust corrupt and thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven that was the real beginning point of me wanting to follow Jesus with my whole heart. And so a couple of years later, I graduated from high school. I worked in a church in California for summer, fought forest fires for the United States government that summer, and tried to reach firefighters for Christ. It's pretty fun. Worked in prison ministry. And then I went to Wheaton College, and it was during Wheaton where I played football there. Division III football, not real great football, but we had a lot of fun. And it was there that I ended up becoming a volunteer Young Life leader, and then I led the Young Life Club at Glenbard West High School in Glen Ellen, Illinois for 4 years. And we, along with about 10 other Wheaton students, we saw that club grow to 200 kids a week and just saw dozens of kids come to Christ. And that was just, man, that was the fuel of like nothing more exciting than seeing Jesus work in your life to reach other people. And it's been fun because that's what I've watched Tim do the last 5 years, just that rocket fuel joy when Jesus is moving in ways that can only be explained by what he's doing. Well, it was after that I felt the call to youth ministry and then to launch Kensington. But here's why I want to finish this piece of the story. And Tim, you can ask me any questions you want, but this is the big thing athletically. When I was 16 and I really began to follow Christ, I started trying to bring buddies from high school to church. And it just felt like a joke to them. It was so hurtful because I wanted them to know how great Jesus was. And that was when I started dreaming, what if we could create a church like FCA or Young Life, where we could just I could reach my buddies on their terms and see them come to Christ. And so that was the real motivation, 34 years ago, launching Kensington. And God gave us that chance to reach a lot of people of our generation. It's pretty exciting.
Man, that's a great story. That continues to be written, brother.
Yeah.
But Rob Saunders.
Rob Saunders was a high school football player at Central High School. He was known to be the number one hellraiser. Drinker, womanizer, and later he became a follower of Christ and came back to reach people in Memphis. And he was a teammate of my older brother's, who was 10 years older than me. And it was his message, and then later his discipling us, that was a major, major part of my life. Not too many people, you probably know of him now, and I've lost touch with him the last probably 15 years, but what an impact. One person, he was the hero maker.
That's right.
In my life.
That's right. And that's what I love, in hearing those testimonies, that's what emerges. There's always, and it could be several people, someone plants seeds, someone comes along, and, we don't know how the process is going to work out.
Yeah. Let me say this just again, as I'm thinking about the hero making thing. It was my mom and dad first.
Yeah.
It was coming back with Rob Saunders all through high school. And then M. Griffin was a professor at Wheaton, and Gary Sattler was associate minister of a Presbyterian church in Glen Ellen. And God used him and Gary in my life to totally inspire me to lead and do ministry. And all those really were, I think, the four people that just ignited my passion to serve and follow Jesus. Love
it. And, I put together my top 10 of men in my life that have influenced me and were been a part of this process. And I made sure they all knew that they were a part of where I'm at now. And
I think that's so wise.
We stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before us and have been faithful. And man, I just love the way it all worked out. And obviously there's, you getting arrested. I never knew that.
I'm a felon. I'm a convicted felon, actually.
We've all had our moments, teachable moments in our lives. But what God can do with someone that's on mission, right, and knows who they are, whose they are, and what matters most. Mm-hmm. Could you share a little more detail on just when God gave you that vision 30 some years ago about Kensington? You were connecting to something that I think is really important that I want everybody to hear again is the why behind what you wanted to create and why you wanted to create it.
Yeah. So, my dad was a number one man on the University of Tennessee golf team in the early 40s, right before he went into medical school and the World War II broke out. And he came to Christ at the first Young Life retreat held outside of Texas. It was in Memphis, where my mom was a senior in high school and was a student committee that brought Young Life to Memphis. It's been in Memphis now 81 years. Wow. My mother brought it when she was 17. Amazing. And so my dad came to Christ through Young Life at a retreat. Church couldn't reach him, but Jim Rayburn, the founder of Young Life, spoke and shared the gospel in a compelling way. And so when I was trying to reach my buddies, I thought, how can we share Christ in this compelling way? And I saw FCA was an incredible ministry where I was connected to that tangentially through high school and college. And then Young Life, where they were always trying to meet people where they were, kind of earn the right to be heard. And I just knew I didn't want to do church the old way. And so I thought, what if we created a service? We were inspired by Willow Creek in Chicago and others. But I thought, Young Life, we'd do skits, we'd have fun, we'd laugh, we'd sing songs of the culture, and then we'd connect those songs to the Bible and to the story of Jesus. And we thought, and I remember the Lord called us, Wally Hostetter, by the way, at Faith Church, he was the real hero maker because he launched me to start Kensington even though he was under duress because what we were doing was different. And he still supported us. What an amazing guy. Incredible mentor. But we wanted to start a church where when people came on a Sunday morning, that they felt like we had been listening in their windows of their house during the week. Like, speak to the issues. We do dramas where husband and wives would have a fight, yell at each other, and people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, well, that's what's happening in people's homes. What does Jesus have to say about that? And so, as we tried to speak the language of our generation, and again, it's changed because the next generations didn't have necessarily the same compulsion that we did, but we started seeing people come to Christ. And I don't know if you know this, but God blessed us in so many ways. And over the last 34 years as a church, we've been blessed to be able to baptize over 15,000 people.
Wow.
Who profess first-time faith in Jesus Christ. And it was through great people, great men and women. I was often in the background with other people leading out front and really doing a great job. But I wanted my high school buddies that I played football and basketball with, who thought church was a joke and that Jesus was a joke. Those were always the people I had in my mind as we were starting Kensington.
Wow.
You know, it'd been guys like you. Because I know when you played basketball, I bet you were a fireball. I bet the guys on the other team, hated your guts.
Oh yeah. Because
you would have been so fiery. You know, that would have been you.
Yeah.
And those were the people we dreamed of reaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And it took me getting introduced to FCA because I thought if I pursued Jesus, I was going to lose my fire. I didn't want to lose my fire, but I wanted to have fire in the appropriate places. I call it misplaced passion. Right. I wanted my passion to be channeled properly. And man, when I found out you could do that through FCA, it was like, oh my gosh, I was like a kid in a candy store. I can do both. And man, it totally changed my life.
And what's happening now is you get to watch inspired young people living out the call of Jesus Christ in the sports arena, inside the sports arena and outside of it. And man, I think the last year or two, hasn't it been cool to see so many men and women in this country in sports giving their testimony for Christ?
Yeah.
Really powerful testimonies.
Yeah. And I think more and more, the reason I think that's happening is there are people behind the scenes that have been hero makers in their lives that have challenged them and empowered them to say, hey, this is what the Lord has done in your life. It's a platform. you're more than an athlete. You need to let them know what the source of that is. And I think people are being unashamed in how they express that now. And what it is, it just made it relevant. Now Jesus is more relevant than he ever has been, especially in sport and competition. There's all kinds of issues that impact that. It just creates so many talking points and opportunities to enter into. But we know the evil one is out there and wants us to be discouraged and distracted and deterred, from the overall mission. So that's when my competitive juices start coming back, and I know that the power of the Holy Spirit is far greater than any power that I have. And if I'm allowed to be used and for it the indwelling Spirit to use me, that is real, that it's authentic, and it moves people. Right? So that's where we need to coach others up, disciples others up like Jesus did, so that they're empowered to live it out and go into those spaces where they are, so that people will want to know, hey, that guy's different. That woman's different. And I want to know why because we're all looking for it, right?
All longing for it.
All longing for it. Awesome. As we come to a close, go ahead.
Hey, let me say one more thing, just to let you go, is I wish the church could capture some of what FCA has understood from the beginning, and people that compete in sports, coaches, is that you're not going anywhere unless you're on a team where you're believing people. And what FCA has done is it literally identifies coaches, assistant coaches, players, captains. The whole process is about believing in what Christ can do in people. Yes. And I just wish the church would grasp onto something FCA has figured out a long time ago.
Well, I appreciate that. And there are many churches that are, that partner up with us. Kensington's one of them. And not just from just the people that go there, but, the overarching leadership, allowing us to use spaces, adopting high schools. So it's a big part of what we do. And so there are those that catch the vision that are jumping in. I just had an amazing conversation with a youth pastor today, and he was a part of FCA in Oklahoma. He's up here now in the East Detroit area, and he's just he's a fireball also. And I asked him to be our chaplain at our first elementary middle school camp at the end of July. And he's fired up about doing it. So it wouldn't happen without people saying yes to these opportunities to come and support what we do. So
I love it, man. That's terrific.
As we close, just where you're at in your life now, it's different. There's different rhythms to what's going on. Can you just kind of, as we close, just come to there? What does the Lord have for you right now, and how does that feel for you?
Yeah, it feels, well, it's a wonderful time of life. And I think it's so beautiful that each period of my life has been so amazing. This one is really different because from the time I was a quarterback of my 5th grade Pop Warner tackle football team, I've been a leader. I've been telling people what to do. And after 30 years of leading Kensington, I stepped out of leadership, and now I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I've stepped into a place where when I'm in my best self, I just, I got my dog barking at the front door to let him out, but it's in my best self, it's just encouraging others. And so I want to spend the rest of my life, hopefully just building other people up and getting behind the visions that God is moving in the next generation. That's why I love being with you. And I love being with the people that you're breathing into them, another generation of people that are going to follow Christ long after we're gone. Yeah. That's exciting.
Well, I love that. And there's still some tread on that tire, brother. I know.
Ain't about that much.
Yeah. So stay tuned, because there could be some empowering opportunities that I'll invite you into where you can come and be that encouragement.
Good, buddy.
So I can't wait for those to happen. And they're going to be happening because God is moving in a powerful way. Mm-hmm. So I love you and I appreciate you. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, man. It's a joy. Love you.
Yep. Wow. That was amazing. Lord, we give you all praise, honor, and glory for who you are and how you're always working. If you are a man or a woman who would love to know more about FCA and learn how to empower people like Steve's life has totally been about, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. But until we come back to Testimony Tuesday again, I'm Tim Morton, Southeast Michigan Director, where our mission is to lead every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and His church.